There were Amelia Earhart and Howard Hughes. Amelia Earhart was a queen, technically. Like I say, there were 5 or 6 queens around. Basically, females that I trusted, that I liked, and pretty much they became queens. And so, like I said, Amelia Earhart stepped down as queen because she thought the title a little bit too whatever. And she and I guess Howard Hughes had a thing, basically. Um, Queens were people that were trusted or whatever. Anyway, it's all complicated where she was basically royalty or considered she was only about 4 or 5 or 30, maybe 16. I think I had 4 queens or something like that. Basically, women that I lavished luxuries on. Extremely good looking women, by the way. And only a couple of them. And this all happened in the past, and this is my past decisions. And it was women that would go out into the world and do stuff. And technically, Amelia Earhart was president or something like that of America. Her and Howard Hughes, and they did a very nice job of running America basically for their term. And it was one of the best times ever, basically for a lot of people. It was a time of great innovation and flight, and they basically just did everything that I wanted them to do, which was pretty much further science, further aviation, and stuff like that. And then later on, Howard Hughes was just a test pilot, basically. Just a normal kid, you would say. But Amelia Earhart took a fast, liked him quite a bit. And she was doing, anyway, she was a pilot or something like that. I forget exactly the details of it. But anyway, so anyway, but then of course Nixon and John McCain and everybody else started running in. Once they saw how much money there was, they kind of like muscled in on the whole territory thing, and we're very 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 bad people. Like I say, John McCain was known as "shoot him in the back," John McCain, and or he went around Germany as Mr. Braun, and basically was basically one part of the whole Nazi movement, German fake Germany movement of Mr. Braun, and like I said, they would sell free hot dogs or discount hot dogs and drugs, and basically there were hot dogs that had gone bad, or were a day away from being bad, and basically they opened up these hot dog stands, and the hot dogs were actually bad, and they were still charging full price for them, and they're also selling drugs out of these hot dog stands or something like that. It was really bad what JFK was involved in, and John McCain. Anyway, there's photographic evidence, and there's a bunch of records that basically showed them off to be really bad people. Basically, stealing the White Star submarines in Pearl Harbor was just a small thing. And like I said, they actually went in and they took it off the list of destinations that people could go to, and they turned it into what they called Pirate Island, matey, where they grew drugs and opium and also basically took all their stolen goods to for a while. A lot of things that happened at Pearl Harbor were bad, really bad. Like I said, a lot of people died that went there. They couldn't mail home, and they couldn't contact anybody at home. Basically, Nixon or those people, some people basically isolated the island pretty much and turned it into like their pirate cove or something like that. And I'm not exactly sure what was happening there, but it was bad. It was really bad. And like I said, there are a lot of people that would go around and basically find my relics and basically turn them into their own little private, they would go there as basically like generals or whatever else like that, and basically they turned them into like their own little private like kill shops or do whatever they wanted places, pretending to be working for the government or pretending to be working for someone, and basically it was all fake. They were just lying a lot, and like I said, there's quite a bit of gold and quite a bit of other stuff at Pearl Harbor and quite a bit of drugs. And it was stuff that Nixon did and some other people did. Basically how they turned it into, they wanted the White Star submarines because they were what's it called, they were only like $600, the equivalent of like $1,000 a day to rent, and for day use and messing around and stuff like that in the water, and to further submarine, so the public could actually get a tour and actually be able to use my submarines because they were just military use before, and the White Star submarine rental place was basically how rich people or just people could gather money and be able to go out in a submarine for a day, and mess around with the submarine. It's just a further, it's more like a what's it called effort. And but then Nixon and JFK they wanted to steal the submarines and use them for pirating, and doing their commando raids, and to rape people and run drugs, and so they basically isolated the island and took it off passage routes. So people even noticed. People said, "Why can't we go to Pearl Harbor anymore? We used to be able to go. Why can't we go?" In communications and even people that were living in Pearl Harbor, even the family noticed that they couldn't contact their people at Pearl Harbor. They could, mail was just getting returned to sender. The mail didn't even go to Pearl Harbor, and people started wondering what's going on at Pearl Harbor. Why can't we mail to Pearl Harbor? Why can't we contact Pearl Harbor? And so Germany or some country finally sent an envoy to Pearl Harbor to find out what the fuck was going on down there. And basically, they had turned the place into their own little private military pirate cove. Like I said, I had spent millions of dollars, turning Pearl Harbor into basically a place. It used to be a whaling or massive port. Anyway, it was basically part of the 1930s, 1940s chaos that reigned around the world. It's one of the reasons why the Japanese probably bombed it eventually. They may have bombed it at some point. It was chaos there. There are people being shot. Over 6,000 people or some 150,000 people went to Pearl Harbor and never came home. No, they never left the island. So, there's like 150,000 people that were accounted for. They just went to Pearl Harbor. 7,000 people went to Pearl Harbor and then just disappeared. They never left Pearl Harbor. They were never seen again. So, it left this big gaping hole of what the fuck happened at Pearl Harbor. Massive disease, whatever. Anyway, I don't really know. I was trying to find out some stuff, and I knew some stuff, but basically it was really bad. A lot of things were bad about Pearl Harbor. A lot, it goes back to Guantanamo Bay and basically what Nixon and JFK was doing. There was a lot of deception and lies and them doing a lot of really messed up things. Wind scale, everything else. There's so much death and just basically pretty much the people at the White House were really, 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 really bad people. So, it's so bad that the rest of the world had to do something about the people at the White House. Probably still do. Like I said, even the FBI, even the CIA people, come like 1970, 1980, the people started leaving the CIA and FBI. Because the president, the leaders of the country of America, were the Congress was actually ordering them to go out and do terrorist activities. So the CIA people and the FBI were like, we're planning attacks on these people. We're doing assassinations. Between 1930 and 1960, people were leaving the FBI, leaving the CIA because they just didn't want to do terrorist activities. They didn't want to kill all these people. Nixon, JFK, they wanted them to go out and kill lots of people. They wanted them to release diseases onto the world. That was the order of Nixon and JFK. Bush had people was covering up for attacking China. He was trying to cover up Vietnam in World War II. They killed all the miners that were working in the White House and Washington, D.C. mine. America would have, or not, America had respect. What the United States had, what the us people had, was nothing. They're very bad people.